In 1942, Germany was ruled by fear. Adolf Hitler controlled every newspaper, every radio station, every classroom, and every street. Anyone who spoke against the Nazi government could disappear overnight. Neighbors spied on neighbors. Children were taught to report their own parents. Most people stayed quiet. But one young woman did not. Her name was Sophie Scholl. She was only 21 years old. Sophie was born in 1921 in a small German town. She grew up in a loving family that believed in honesty, education, and freedom. Her father often warned her about blind obedience. He told her, "Never follow a leader who demands that you stop thinking." At first, Sophie was like many young Germans. She joined the Hitler Youth Organization, as all students were expected to. She sang songs, wore the uniform, and took part in activities. But something inside her felt wrong. The more she learned, the more she realized the Nazis were teaching lies. When the war began, Sophie saw the truth. Jewish families vanished from her town. Her friends were sent to die on the battlefield. Books were burned. Fear ruled everything. Sophie could no longer pretend. She went to the University of Munich, where she met a group of students who secretly opposed Hitler. Among them was her brother, Hans Scholl. Together, they formed a small resistance group called the White Rose. They had no weapons. They had no army. They had only words. Their plan was simple and deadly. They would write and secretly spread leaflets telling the German people the truth about Hitler and the war. The leaflets said things like, "The Nazi regime is destroying Germany. True freedom comes from courage. You are not powerless." They printed them in secret. They hid them inside books. They mailed them to strangers. They left them in public places. Every leaflet was a risk. If caught, they would be executed. Still, Sophie continued. She believed that even if only a few people listened, it was worth it. In February 1943, Sophie and Hans took a suitcase filled with leaflets to the university. They placed them outside classrooms and in hallways. Students found them and quietly picked them up. But Sophie did one last dangerous thing. She threw the final stack of leaflets from the top of a stairwell so they would scatter across the floor. A janitor saw her. He was a loyal Nazi. He reported her immediately. Sophie and Hans were arrested by the Gestapo, Hitler's secret police. They were taken away for questioning. Inside a dark prison room, Sophie was interrogated for hours. The Gestapo tried to break her. They threatened her. They lied. They tried to make her confess. But Sophie did not cry. She did not beg. She looked them in the eyes and told the truth. "I did what I did because I believe in freedom." Sophie and Hans were brought before a Nazi court. There was no real trial. The judge was cruel and angry. The outcome was already decided. They were accused of treason. That meant death. Sophie stood in the courtroom, calm and fearless. When the judge shouted at her, she did not look away. She said, "What we said and wrote is what many Germans are thinking. They just don't dare to say it." 3 days later, on February 22nd, 1943, Sophie Scholl was led to the execution room. She was only 21 years old. She walked without shaking. Her final words were, "How can we expect righteousness to prevail when hardly anyone is willing to give himself up for a just cause?" A blade fell. Sophie Scholl was gone. But her courage lived on. After her death, the White Rose leaflets were secretly copied and spread across Germany. One copy even made it to England. British planes later dropped thousands of those leaflets over Germany. The Nazis could kill Sophie, but they could not kill her message. Today, Sophie Scholl is remembered as one of the bravest women in history. Schools and streets in Germany are named after her. Her story is taught to children. Her face is a symbol of courage. She was not a soldier. She was not a politician. She was just a young woman who refused to be silent in the face of evil. And because of that, she became immortal.